Oshodi, one of the areas in Lagos State.
It's okay and it's good.
But what are the consequences of this? Hello there, and a warm welcome to another edition of SuperEye. Of course, you know the SuperEye is a program that brings a searchlight on the ills of the society. And as usual, we'll always point out what we feel is wrong in the society and look for the way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to SuperEye. Today on the program, we want to look at Nigeria's security. National security. It is something that concerns everybody, myself, yourself, and without security, I bet you none of us will be living in this country. So for us to continue to live in peace and harmony, we want to look at our national security. You will recall that this week, President Muhammadu Buhari approved the release of $1 billion, of course, for the procurement of security equipment. And I'm wondering, the last administration also approved about the same amount. I'm talking about the administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And now another $1 billion approved again for the same purpose. We're wondering, why? And does it mean that all others that have been purchased in the past, they're outdated, or most likely, even if there's need to get new equipment, should it amount to this $1 billion? And from some quarters, they're saying that most likely it is because of the coming election, the 2019 general elections. Maybe the present administration has approved that for them to be able to run election. But of course, all of these are coming from some quarters. Of course, yeah, the Ekiti State governor actually wrote in a statement this week questioning why the president would approve such an amount, and also saying that the money belongs to the 3 tiers of government, and saying that the president does not have the right to go ahead and approve it. We also heard the aide to the president on media also saying that this was not the language, that it was not approved, but it was only what they came up with, that this is what they are going to, push to the National Assembly for approval. And while the word approval was used, the Senate, or say the National Assembly, both the upper and the lower, they have been saying that the president does not have the right to approve $1 billion without seeking their consent. Now, we want to talk about this, and the person who also disclosed this is the Defense Minister, Masoud Dan Ali. And at that meeting, they discussed different issues on national security, and Dan Ali was the one who disclosed that that amount has been approved. You also recall during the week that Ben Bruce, Senator Ben Bruce, was also complained that that amount cannot be approved without their consent. All of these happened during the week. Also, the House of Reps also complained that it can't not be. And at the moment as we're speaking, I think a letter has been written to the National Assembly for the approval of $1 billion. Okay, to start with now, let's hear what the Defense Minister said after the heads of security meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari.
We discussed the current activities that affected most of the states in the federation, like Taraba, Zamfara, and other states. As usual, we have operationalized a division in Sokoto, and there will be a brigade in Katsina and another brigade in Zamfara. The strength of the military personnel have increased, including the Air Force additional quick response group, they have added enough manpower in that general area.
With First Minister Dan Ali there briefing journalists on the outcome of the heads of security meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. He told us that $1 billion was approved. And to discuss this issue today, I have a very special guest in the house, the second Vice President of the Nigeria Bar Association, Barrister Monday Onyekachi Ubani. Barrister Monday Onyekachi Ubani, you're welcome to SuperEye.
Thank you very much for having me. I think this is my first time I've been in your program, but I've heard about this particular program. So thank you for having me, and good evening, listeners.
All right, so let's hit the nail on the head, Barrister Ubani. $1 billion was, well, the president approved the release of $1 billion for the procurement of arms. What do you make out of this?
Well, when they use the word approved, you know, I'm always an activist, but on my social media platform. So I posted something. I said, can the president approve a certain amount of money from the Treasury without the Appropriation Act of the National Assembly? And I said that it would be a dangerous precedent. Even if the previous government has done such a thing, it's clearly illegal. The constitution today as it is that the president cannot spend any cover from the Treasury without appropriation by the National Assembly. So he cannot do that. So using the word approval when it has not been properly appropriated is a wrong language. But I'm happy that I heard the special advisor on media saying that they are sending a letter to the National Assembly for appropriation. So in other words, they must have probably put the cart before the horse. The normal procedure is for the National Assembly to appropriate before you talk about approval. You cannot approve and then talk about appropriation. So it's issue of language, more procedure. Why must the National Assembly do that? It's a constitutional issue. Section 80 of the 1999 Constitution as amended gives them the power to do that. And the purpose is actually to ensure accountability and transparency. They are the one that will look at the request. Do we really need such an amount of money for now in order to buy arms and ammunition? The ones that we have approved before, what has happened to it, they will ask all those salient questions and then look at the possibility of approval at this point in time, whether it's worth it or something they can reject and all that. So the issue of accountability is very key. And that's why the Constitution has made all those provisions and put all those structures in place, you know, when it comes to issue of spending public money. So it would be wrong for the president to single-handedly approve and spend such huge sum of money without appropriation. It's clearly illegal. A clear violation of the Constitution.
Such an amount of money, Barrister Monday Ubani.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, like some other people are also saying, do you really think that $1 billion, don't you think that that money is way too much?
Well,
purchase of equipment.
Yes, that's what I said. That, you know, but they have modified the request now. They say it's not the issue of buying only equipment and ammunition; that it includes all the other arms of security, you know, and then it's not restricted to issue of Boko Haram insurgency. That it covers all manner of insecurity in the entire country, and is not, you know, actually zone again. The entire country is actually involved. Now, the issue as to adequacy or whether it's much or less is why we have the National Assembly. That's why any money you want to spend from the Treasury has to be actually appropriated. They will look at all the whys and wherefores. Look at all the objective of the money. Look at whether it's adequate or it's not adequate. Whether there has been an approval before. We have national budget actually for defense. We have normal budget for defense, for the Ministry of Defense and all that. So they will look at the other monies approved last year, look at the ones that are already in the budget this year, and then look at whether you can, you know, single-handedly spend $1 billion that is actually not belonging to only one tier of government.
The 3 tiers.
It belongs to local and then state and federal. That's why it will be wrong for the presidency to actually approve this money without the input of the representatives of the people, looking at why that amount of money should be approved. So whether it is adequate or whether it's less is the job of the National Assembly or the legislators to look into that particular request and know whether it is possible at this point in time to approve that amount of money. And if it is not, it's not practicable based upon other exigencies, they will of course have to turn it down. But if there is reason why it must be approved and they have justified the reason why they want that amount of money, they can go ahead and approve it. And so that's why second structure have to look at that particular request and know whether it is adequate or whether it is more.
All right, national security is one important aspect to every Nigerian. And I'm wondering, the last administration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan also approved the same amount of money.
Yes.
And looking at it from the angle that the general election is just by the corner, 2019.
That's right.
And they are approving the same amount approved during last administration again this year. Do you see any, kind of foul play in this approval of this amount of money?
APC, then they were in the opposition, and they made mountain out of that approval that was actually done by the previous administration. President Jonathan then was criticized heavily for that approval, and the allegation was that that money was actually for election. After they were driven out of power, it became very obvious that so much money was kept in the hands of the National Security Advisor, and we know those alleged looters got most of the money they got from the National Security Advisor. And those monies were actually appropriated for the sake of fighting insurgency, and were never used for that purpose. They use it for some other things that you consider illegitimate, was not towards fighting any insecurity in the state. And so people have always known, or they criticized at that time, they raised alarm, but eventually when this government was taken out and then new government came in and the investigation started, we found out that so much money was taken through that particular source. So people are also justified now to now begin to raise eyebrows, say, it is few months to election, and you are approving $1 billion, taking a similar part of the previous government. So are we too sure that you will use this money also for fighting insurgency, or is it not for electoral purpose? Since the previous administration did the same, and they use it for, so much money was in their hand then.
And to say that the same war, which they are trying to fight, is still what Nigerians are still, or Nigeria basically, is still battling with. That's
right, and even for this present government, they have said it over and over again that they have decimated. They have decapitated the potency of the insurgency. Beautiful. So if you have actually decapitated that insurgency, I mean, why are we approving such amount, a humongous amount, to fight the same war that you have given us impression you have won?
Don't you think that government feels that Nigerians are maybe dumb or something?
Yeah, they think we don't know. Sometimes they also think that, and true, the fact is that we are too docile. The people are very docile. We are not as forceful as other nations when it concerns public spendings and public treasury. When it has to do with public treasury, because they are heavily taxed abroad, everyone is interested how his money is being spent. And so government is very sensitive. Any slightest suspicion of fraud, any slightest suspicion that you are not using the money that is budgeted for a particular purpose, that can actually cost the government their victory. But here, because we are relying on oil money, because Nigerians actually do not make much input into the public treasury, we don't care. And these people know. And that's why they can do what they want to do and get away with it. So the level of advocacy has to be increased. The level of consciousness has to be increased on issue of public treasury. That government owe that responsibility to be very accountable and very transparent and owe explanation to every kobo you want to spend. But here, several billions have been taken away by the governors in the name of security money, sometimes traveling allowances and all that. And nobody checkmates them. The state house of assemblies do not. At the presidency, the same thing, the commissioners, the ministers, Almost everywhere, there is so much, building of the system, and the people do not care. So we need to all raise our consciousness and know that you don't spend people's money without accountability. And that's why we're saying that this particular one, the president cannot single-handedly approve $1 billion from the public treasury without another arm of government looking at approving it and looking at the reason why you are taking that money out of the system, and also follow it up, because their job does not even end at appropriation level. It also issue of oversighting. They must see whether that money you are taking out of the system is used for the purpose you have actually brought it before them. If you don't do that, that can lead to impeachment. So I think that we should raise the consciousness of Nigerians towards the issue of public treasury. We should raise their consciousness towards the issue of public spending. That politicians or the political elites owe you that duty to explain every kobo. They have no right to take a kobo out of the system without explanation and without giving account. It's very important. So I think that consciousness must be raised.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Albani. I'll come back to you. It is on what Barrister Albani just said that there is need for us to raise the consciousness of citizens to what and how government take money from the treasury. And now, T.Y. Danjuma recently, Barrister Albani, advocated self-defense for Nigerians. And the reason is not far-fetched. The problem of farmers' herdsmen crisis has continued without any sign of it abating. And the killings have continued. And this has become very worrisome for Nigerians. And I think the governor of Benue State also during the week said they should kill anyone with arm on sight. And they said they got the consent of the president on that. So I'm saying that our national security calls for questioning the security agents or agencies that have the responsibility of protecting our Nigerians, internal security basically. How are they doing? Are they really living up to the expectations of the citizens that they are supposed to protect? You also recall that during the week, precisely Thursday, there was an armed robbery attack in Offa, in Kwara State, and we learned that the robbers actually went into a police station, killed everybody there, robbed for 2 hours without any disturbances from anybody. Security, as if we are living in a country where we do not have police and what have you. So I want to quickly take what Theophilus Danjuma, our former defense minister, said to Nigerians about advocating a self-defense in securing our lives and properties. Take a listen.
The ethnic cleansing must stop in Taraba State, must stop in all the states of Nigeria. Otherwise, Somalia will be a child's play. I ask every one of you to be alert and defend your country, defend your territory, defend your state. You have nowhere else to go. You have nowhere else to go.
Describing Taraba State as a miniature Nigeria with diverse ethnic and cultural heritage that the armed bandits are seeking to ruin.
Well, that is former defense minister Theophilus Danjuma speaking there and said advocating self-defense on the part of Nigerians. Barrister Ubani, what do you make out of what former defense minister has just said? For me, it shows that he does not have confidence on our security agents anymore. He also said that they are also colluding with the army in perpetrating some of these acts. What do you make out of this? Yeah,
well, I want to follow this particular question step by step. Do I have a right to defend myself in case somebody invades my home and then is about to kill me under the laws in Nigeria? And the answer is yes. Self-defense is actually allowed. It's also a defense in criminal liability if you kill. And it's found out that in the process of killing, you were trying to protect yourself and your life. and the other person that you killed, wanted to take away your life, and all that is clearly a defense for which you can be exculpated. You can, that won't be exonerated completely. There won't be any criminal liability. So what he said is something that is recognized by law. But being a very highly
placed
an individual, it is also born out of frustration that made him to say that particular statement that he made. Because if the security apparatus of the state seems clearly incapable of protecting lives and properties, stop the wanton destructions of lives and property, and you've seen it over and over again, and there is helplessness on the part of security apparatus. There is issue of incapacity and incompetence. You cannot but advise that people should also defend themselves. You know what I mean? Over and over again, the killings have been going on. You hear today they have killed up to other 10, tomorrow 20, the next day 30, the next day 40, and then there is no pronouncement from the federal government or from the state government that makes it, the situation to
even build the confidence of citizens
that this is calamity, and that we should not allow this, that the security apparatus must be shifted towards that angle in order to nip it in the bud. Rather, there is absolute carelessness. Our president went to Benue and said that he was surprised that the president
after how many weeks?
Yeah, that your IG directed to take over control wasn't there, didn't even sleep there, and has gone back to Abuja, and you're not aware. So it then means that there is some level of communication breakdown and not proper monitoring of what is going on. That probably lives and properties are not regarded as anything, whereas that is actually the primary responsibility. So his call was born out of being helpless, out of being frustrated, that his people in Taraba are being killed on a daily basis, and there has not been a serious step taken by the government of the day in order to nip it in the bud. So we will not say, why don't you people now, try as much as possible to protect. Don't just leave yourself open every day you're being killed. Nobody will want that. And I don't think that the government also will want a situation where their citizens will be killed by criminals. And so if I'm being asked to defend myself against criminals, I see no reason why the state will be angry. That I am being advised that if criminals come to kill me, I, as a citizen, who is a law-abiding citizen of the state, should defend myself. So why would the state be angry? So that makes you now know that there is something more about these herdsmen killings and all that. Whether there is collusion or connivance, by the state apparatus and all that, then it's obvious. Because if they really mean that lives are worth anything, lives of citizens are worth anything, and they feel that this wanton destruction by the criminal is not something we should tolerate, then what they should rather do is to investigate what the method,
bring culprits to book.
Yes, and investigate what the man has just said and know whether there is any collusion by the military, and then nip that in the bud. It's not something that will anger you, that the man advised people to ensure that criminals do not come and waste them, because these are citizens, and you are worried that your citizens are being wasted by criminals. Well, what you do now is to ensure that those criminals do not kill citizens and all that. So for them to be angry makes me feel, the goodwill that President Buhari came with and enjoyed over time, and we are one of those. I stuck out my neck in order to campaign, in order to speak on behalf of this man, knowing fully well his antecedent, that he, under Idiabo's regime, we knew there was a country we were about to recover before the intervention.
So it would be right for me to say you're also among those who feel disappointed in President Muhammadu Buhari.
I'm a bit disappointed, especially with the handling of the herdsmen issue. It was at that point in time, I'm happy that the way he has handled the Boko Haram insurgency. I'm also happy in certain, like agriculture, that there is attention towards that angle now. We are recovering our energy, that power. There is some level of improvement, and there are certain good gains by this government. Issue of stealing with impunity, even though they may not have stopped stealing completely, but stealing with impunity that was in the old order has actually abated. So, but handling of the herdsmen has not been proper. You are the one that sent the military to Eastern region when there was this IPOB militancy.
Yes.
And these guys were harmless. They were not killing anyone. You even dubbed them terrorist group. and did all manner of things at that
to
point.
their people.
That even when the president came back from UK, one of the things that was uppermost in his mind, which he addressed, was the militancy in the East. He made it a national issue, a national discourse. But I've never seen him, make this issue of herdsmen, call a press conference and say this nonsense must stop.
And when the president also visited her, he was telling the people to know how they will have
and accommodate them. So what are you talking about? So it then means that what they are alleging that there is connivance. That these guys that these guys are doing this thing because the Fulani man is in power. And all that. So you are giving away all that goodwill because we voted for a president or a father of the entire nation. So you have come as a father. There is no question of discrimination, whether you are Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba. You must run a country.
Sentiments.
Beautiful. So even if your relations are the one offending the law, they must face the book. But when you now come and say accommodate people who are killing people, accommodate them, and that you're not making any effort to stop them, it then means that they are giving you wrong advice. The security apparatus are wrongly advising you, and they're telling you, they're giving you wrong information. And then a state enacted a law, and that law was properly passed by the State House of Assembly. And IG stays in Abuja and said that law is illegal. So what are you talking? What are you saying? Are we running a two-country? Are we running a different country entirely? So you are not giving the impression that you have come to run a country, a united country, but
an agenda of your
sectional
people from your region.
So that isn't too good. For some of us who stuck at our neck to publicly say, look, this is a man we feel that can unite this country. But your policies, your action, your utterances are clearly to the contrary. By this action, by this herdsmen stuff that you have not been able to address squarely and deal with it and stop it. Do you know that one pronouncement that the president can make over this issue of herdsmen
does everything?
It happened in Ghana, where there was such a menace, and the president made a pronouncement that anyone that is going about with cows, destroying people's farm, they should kill the cows. And he made that statement, and see that all of them have become very careful the way they
operate.
They are beautiful. So what I'm saying is that an utterance by the president would have, but the president has been
paying lip service, basically,
from his actions. Well, I mean, I'm an adult, I'm over 50, so I should be able to know when a president he wants to address this issue, the way he addressed the IPOB issue, the way he addressed the militancy in the Niger Delta, so the way he addressed approach
to be directed to herdsmen.
So why are you not directing it towards them? So what are you doing? And these guys go about killing, not only in one region, they all over the country. They kill, and they kill with so much impunity. They waste families. In fact, the last one was that the whole family was wasted. A whole family. They killed the father, they killed the mother, and they killed all the children. And
we also heard that there's another the Bonta farm very close to T.Y. Danjuma's farm.
Okay, they bought it recently?
Yes, during the week also.
Okay,
and you begin to wonder what is happening in this country. Somebody has spoken against government today, and what you say is...
it becomes an anti-government, they come after you and all that, so that shouldn't be.
So, Salvani, I'll come back to you. I want to open the phone lines right now. Please call to make your contributions. Or what we are talking about is the $1 billion said to be approved by President Muhammadu Buhari for the procurement of arms and other security equipment. We are also looking at the advocacy by a former defense minister, T.Y. Danjuma, saying Nigerians should wake up from their slumber and see how they can protect themselves. Self-defense is what Theophilus Danjuma has advocated for Nigerians, and we are asking the security of our nation, does it not call for questioning? So call me now and let us have your contribution. I still have Barrister Ubani in the studio. So, Barrister, I'm wondering, do you really think that the government of Nigeria actually plays premium on the lives of its citizens?
It's not only this government. All other governments that have actually ruled this nation, they have never in any way placed any premium on the lives of Nigerians. In fact, when lives have been wasted, the argument is usually, it's not up to 20. It's not up to 30, as reported. It's only either 4 or 5, that's the argument. Not that lives have been lost, not that government owe the responsibility of protecting those lives and properties. No, it's the issue. Most times when they argue is that, oh no, you are reporting this issue. You are making it look as if it is, so many that has been wasted. And so that has always been the argument. So there's no premium placed on life, because if there is, all the deaths, there's so much blood. we have wasted in this nation, and those bloods are crying for vengeance. And when you see a nation actually deteriorating, instead of making progress and all that, they're going backwards. It has to do with lives also that you have carelessly wasted, and you have not addressed those injustices and all that. And those blood will cry for vengeance. They will cry for revenge. And God do not joke with blood. Go and read your Bible and see how God talks about wasting of life, issue of murder, issue of blood. He don't joke with it. As they cry to God, God hears the prayers of those who have suffered injustice, and God will always revenge. So our nation also need to stop the killings, stop the wastage of lives and properties, and then pray for forgiveness. Any person who assumes the position of leadership must know the grave responsibility that that God has entrusted upon him. That you owe that responsibility of protecting the people within your polity. The moment you fail, neglect, or you're unable, then you completely you put yourself and put the entire country in jeopardy. That is what is actually going on now. I think we must pay attention to issue of protection of lives. Security is of uppermost now. You're not talking about insurgency. There is resurgence of even kidnapping. There is resurgence of armed robbery. The
Dapchi girls is also there.
The Christian girl that they have taken, and the girl
they are yet to release.
Up to now, we have not released. We got it, and it's like we have forgotten that issue. The government made a promise that they will get that girl released.
They even said it at this merits of security meeting with the president.
Please, it's important that girl is released, and it's also important that we recover even the Chibok girls, the remaining Chibok girls. We shouldn't forget all these things. And then I think the security apparatus must be, we need to rejig it. Now, if you are talking of arms and ammunition, and really, they don't have arms and ammunition. If they don't have, all this while, all the monies have not gone there, in buying those arms. Let's ensure that they are equipped. Let's ensure that we fight crime with technology. It's very important. If you are still using the orthodox method, the old method of fighting crime, you cannot succeed. Crime now is being fought with science and techs. I lost $100 recently, and I thought that people from the village, came to take their money because it was money I saw in my car. All of a sudden, I went to the banking hall, and then I didn't see the $100, and I complained. I said, "How could I have lost this money?" It was looking like whether it's a spirit that came to take the money. Without. But the following week, when I came to the bank, the security man said, "Okay, come and see how you lost this money," and the CCTV. As I was trying to get down from the car, the money fell out from me, and breeze, blew it up to the main road. It was there for some minutes. Then there was this passerby that was just passing, and God showed him that $100, and he said, "God, thank you." He picked it, and that's how I lost that $100. But in my own little sense, without technology, without science,
you would have put the blame on the bank,
even on my driver. But I didn't, because I know that my driver have used money and all that, to tempt me. He has never taken my money. So my mind never got it. So what I'm trying to say is science is the letter. You must use science and tech to fight crime. Using all those orthodox methods we're using both by the security agencies in Nigeria cannot take us far.
Right. Well, Barrister, I don't want to believe that security apparatus are not up to the task. But what I think is most likely the political will is not there for Nigeria to overcome its security challenges. What do you think?
Yeah, what is actually destroying this country, and we need to deal with it, is the issue of ethnicity and religious differences. This sentiment crops up, and it's not allowing for cohesion. The moment we put away ethnicity, the moment we put away religious differences in this country, and forge ahead as a united nation, I tell you that Nigerians have a lot of potential, that will make us one of the greatest countries in the world. But those differences have actually separated us and have actually impacted negatively. Those in the military, most times, the allegation is that they even connive and collude with those herdsmen based upon religious sentiment, based upon ethnicity. Even in the police, sometimes when certain crimes are being committed and somebody comes from certain, and somebody is the head of the Nigerian police there, because because the man is from this, there are some crimes some people commit. I've seen it as a lawyer, and nothing happens because they come from certain environments.
So how do
but when it involves people from other tribe, you see how the Nigerian police now pretend to be very efficient. It has happened. I handled a matter recently. I went to the Senate to report a particular young man about a particular young man. He's from the south. He was assigned to go and arrest a man. He went and arrested the man for robbery. By the time they got to Lagos, the same police that sent him asked him to release the man. After they have gone to go and arrest the man, he released the man. The man now came and wrote a petition against them that they are robbers. They came to rob him. The same police that sent this young policeman to work dismissed him, said that he was a robber. The man went to court and said, come and prove that I'm an armed robber. They didn't come. The matter was, the judgment was entered in his favor. For over 10 years, we have been fighting for this case, for Nigerian police to reinstate him, because he's from South. If you go there and see how Southerners are being treated by the Nigerian police authorities, you will shed tears, and we are in the same country. I went there and I see how many of them. There are issues, you know, somebody will say, I'm sent on an official duty. Before you know it, something will happen.
Hello, I think
yes.
I have a caller.
Yes.
Yusuf from Badagry. Hello, Yusuf.
Yes, hello, ma. I want to ask the barrister.
Yes.
See why don't you myself that we should be defending ourselves?
Yes.
Like, does it now mean that...
7072806.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Does it now mean that we should now carry, we should be armed?
That is not what he's saying. What he's saying is that if an armed robber comes to your house now to kill you, and you have a hoe or whatever that you can use to defend yourself, will you stay there and allow the man to kill you? Won't you defend yourself?
Absolutely no.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Can you answer me, sir? I say, if an armed robber enters into your house now to kill you, and you have something within you to defend yourself, will you fold your hands, sir?
No, sir.
So that is what the man is. He's not asking you to go and buy a gun or what. He's saying defend yourself, because lives have been wasted every day. On daily basis, we are hearing this person has been killed, this person has been killed, and there is incapacity on the part of the security to protect the lives. And so if somebody comes to kill me, won't I defend myself? Yeah, hello, sir.
With only cutlass, when the armed robber has guns, and like all those headsmen that are carrying guns up and down, how can I protect myself with only cutlass?
If they come to kill you and you don't have anything to protect, so you allow them to kill you now. So that would be my answer to you and all that. But I don't think the man was saying the wrong thing. As I said earlier, self-defense is allowed under the law. Self-defense, defending yourself, is allowed under the law. So if somebody wants to kill you and you have something to defend yourself, go ahead and defend yourself. You have not committed any crime. In any case, those who are killing are criminals. Anyone that will want to come and kill you is a criminal. And if I see a way of killing a criminal that has come to kill me, then I have not committed any crime.
All right, thank you very much, Yusuf. That's Yusuf from Badagry. And that brings me to the question.
Yes.
There are other agencies too that I think have contributed to the insecurity that we have in our nation. And as the second vice president of NBA, I want to get your comment on that, because I feel the judiciary also have a role to play in this. I remember the case of the notorious kidnapper, what's his name now? Evans. Up till now, we don't know if that matter has been swept under the carpet. We are yet to get updates on what is happening to Evans. You know, the long time that our cases stay in court and or what have you, I'm very certain that if he has the money, eventually he's going to have his way.
Well, it's one of the things that I've just been elected into a committee that has to do with access to justice and reforms in our judicial system. This morning, I was also speaking to a radio station as to this issue of long delays in our justice delivery system. It's a big problem. We watch what happens in other countries, especially in UK and US. You know, if such a big crime, takes place, the speed with which those matters...
Yes. I think I have a call. Hello? Bolao calling from Lekki.
Hello.
Hello, Bolao, you're welcome. Please make your contribution.
I'm a first-time caller.
Oh, wow, wonderful. You're welcome. He's a first-time caller.
Okay.
Okay, let's have your contribution.
I think the government should always use the citizens in terms of national security and things they have to do. In the case of that Evans, I think the two government court for the more than the allowed time. The government is really trying to national security as of now, because of Boko Haram and other things.
Boko Haram.
I didn't get his point.
Okay, I didn't really get what I think. Part of what he was saying is that there's need for government to take seriously the issue of national security.
Yeah, very.
And they also talked about Boko Haram. So as you were saying,
which they are doing now. So what we're saying is that we must hasten our justice delivery system. It's not helping us. Investors that want to come into your country will look at the rate at which issues are resolved within the judicial cycle. And if it takes a long time, they will not be interested. In case there is any issue that will crop up, that requires resolution, and it takes so much long time for the issues to be resolved, they will not be interested. So we must begin to reform our judicial system. Recently, the MBA actually embarked on the adoption of Administration of Criminal Justice Act by the various states, because that law will go a long way in hastening our judicial delivery in justice sector, criminal justice sector, because there are very lofty provisions in that law. So we are ensuring that all the states adopt that law in their various, by their various national states House of Assembly, and make it a law in their state. Very, very important, because it is a process that hastens the trial process, the trial of criminals, suspects. It doesn't allow all those interlocutory applications, that we go on appeal to Supreme Court. No. If a trial has commenced, there are days given for it. And if there are issues of appeal on interlocutory matter, you have to wait until the substantive issue is decided. After conviction or acquittal, then you can appeal if you so desire. So that law is wonderful, and we must go ahead to insist on implementation of that law. Why we have issues with our country is that most times we have good laws, we don't implement them.
Good laws without implementation.
Yeah, we don't implement some of our laws. Even those who you consider defective, go ahead and implement, even as it is. Implementation has always been an issue. You mentioned political will. We don't have political will to do many things in this nation, and that is actually not helping us. So I think we must insist that the laws we have, we must implement them, we must respect them, we must obey them, and then carry out more reforms, employ more judges, build more courthouses, make sure that you put infrastructure in those, courts, get proper persons to administer justice in the fountain of justice, and that is the court. There are so many people who are not supposed to be in the judiciary. They are not called. They are not supposed to be there. But there are those who are called, and they want to be there and deliver justice. Get them into the system, and then decongest our prison, decongest our court system, and ensure speedy delivery of justice. People will become happy in this nation, and we can do that. We have the material, we have the resources.
All right, many thanks, Mr. Ubani, for your suggestions. However, still on the matter, upholding national security.
Yes.
The armed robbery attack that occurred during the week in Offa. We saw public officials, evident among them is the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, condemning it in strong terms and what have you. But the question is, what are the measures put in place to forestall such an occurrence in future?
It's a holistic measure. If we want to deal with insecurity and robberies and all manner of crime in the state, the government must sit down, plan a holistic policy. One, take people out of the street, put them in the factories, put them in the companies, because an idle hand is the devil's workshop. Exactly. So there must be an economic policy that ensures that people are well fed, that people are clothed, that people are living in good accommodation, and they have jobs. The moment you create jobs for people, you have reduced 80% of the crime rate in a state. Go and watch countries that are happy. Go and watch countries where the employment rate is almost zero. Switzerland, all these nations we hear that they are the happiest people now on the earth. Go and watch their employment rate is always high. Employment rate and not unemployment. Unemployment is so low. So take guys out of the street, put them in the factory, put them in offices, and when they are working, they won't have time for crime. That is first policy. Then the security agencies must be well kitted, must be well armed, must do their duty. They must be patriotic, well trained and well paid. In order for those who are deviants in the society, then they deal with them. The law must be upheld. Those who are criminals ought not to be on the street, they ought to be in prison. Make sure that they are in prison. Don't allow a system where you cannot get conviction and prosecution. Oh, somebody is discharged and acquitted on grounds of lack of diligent prosecution. Most of the guys who are criminals and who are supposed to be in the prison are on the streets still committing crime.
Even prison congestion is also a challenge.
So, beautiful. So that is how countries that want to reduce crime rate, they plan the economic policy to get many. Those who do not have job, they pay them money. In UK, in America today, you have no job. Every month you must have something to eat.
And that brings me to
because a hungry man is an angry man. But when you eat, you have no time to begin to, I mean, you are daily this is taken care of by the state. So what's your own? You need accommodation, they give you accommodation. So if you want to reduce crime rate and sleep, I go to Britain today by 3 a.m. I'm on the road. Nobody is harassing me and all that because I know, the only insignificant, when they want to steal, they go and steal in the bank. They go and rob banks. And they will still catch them because the system is put in place to get them.
Technology.
Beautiful. So what I'm saying is that we have the money. We have the resources to attain this level of efficiency. But corruption has killed. And that's why I love when Buhari say I will fight corruption. But whether he has made a success of it, it's a different ballgame. Maybe another day we'll come and talk about whether he has succeeded.
Even talking about corruption, there was also during the week, we heard
the
that
looters list.
there is not even the looters list, that is under pressure to reinstate Guazo, the SEC DG, Guazo, who was charged for corruption and is yet to be,
who is under pressure?
Yes, the president.
Well, if he wants to, let him keep on making such mistakes. These are the things that actually will reduce his goodwill more and more. If you say you are fighting corruption, and then when it involves, people that are close to you,
and you
or who are in the same political party,
of
they become saints because they are associated with you, but other people then that again makes people to know that you're not real. But I hope he doesn't do that.
And then again, they say leadership is about responsibilities.
Exactly.
This present administration has been there now 3 years. And they made a whole lot of promises. They do this, they do that. Pastor Bani, can we really say that they've been able to meet all of their promises?
Let me tell you this, they have not met all their promises. But
not even half.
They may not have met all the promises they made. But I tell you, some of the things they are doing may take some time to begin to manifest. I'm just saying this. I'm not a fan of what is going on and all that. I criticize them when it's necessary. But I also know that to build an institution and it begin to manifest, like this light stuff, like this power I'm telling you now, they are trying to recover the power. Something is being done gradually. Maybe the issue of money is not there and all that. Then there are other things like agriculture. If it's being sustained. But what I was saying that they must make this thing permanent, build a permanent structure so that we begin now to build on them. I don't want a situation where we come with fire brigade approach and get an answer now, tomorrow it goes back. Let them build a decent, but they have not met the expectations of Nigerians, the way they made those promises. But I tell you, it will take some time if they follow through some of the foundation they're laying in some basic areas of life. I'm just telling you that the government is doing certain things, especially in agriculture. I'm seeing it manifest. I don't eat imported rice anymore. I eat local rice, and for almost 2 years now, and that is good for me. There are things again we no longer import. We are beginning to look towards the
local production,
beautiful and all that. So if we sustain that, even the cars, this young man now in Newi, most of the vehicles I see on the road now is from him and all that. So if we begin to sustain all that and begin to encourage all that, then I tell you that in a few years' time, you begin to see the foundation that this government has laid. But the point is that there are some mistakes they're making. I had expected this man to change some of his ministers. I had expected this man to change some certain persons. I've expected him to do many things. He's so slow. And that slowness is not helping the administration because we need to run. We shouldn't be crawling at all because do you know where Singapore is? Do you know where Malaysia is? These are countries we started on the same pedestal, on the same footing. In the 60s, they are far ahead. So for us to crawl at this time by any leader, it's not helping us. So Buhari should run. Buhari is crawling. He's too slow in taking decisions and it's not helping him.
Maybe he's trying to follow the saying that says slow and steady.
Now slow and steady, it's contextual.
It's not what's needed now.
No, it's not what is needed. You need to run, but also run cautiously. Are you following me? We need to run. The country is so far out. We are so behind. I don't know whether you understand what I'm talking about. Educationally, we are so behind. Technologically, we are so behind. There's no longer research going on in the universities. The universities are completely dead. There are no longer breakthroughs. We need to hear about in the 70s. There was this invention in University of Lagos, University of Nigeria, University of Ibadan. You don't hear of any invention any longer. There is no research fund. There is no research and funding going on in the universities. Completely dead. So I thought with the change, these are things we need to recover, but things remain the same and all that. So it's giving me concern. When are we going to have the right type of leadership that we know where we are? In educational sector, where we are in our health sector, where we are in then where we're supposed to be, and then now lay a solid foundation for us to recover. That is the point.
All right, still talking about national security, for a government that is serious about having a secure nation. You advocated, you suggested a number of
including state police. State police is very key also.
Yes. I'm thinking the citizens. We're talking about unemployment, high unemployment rates in Nigeria.
Beautiful.
Should there not be something, a particular amount of money that government will earmark for citizens who do not have jobs, like it is done in developed
we have the money.
nations?
And let me tell you this, those countries are run by taxes, and they still have so much money for those who have nothing they are doing, and they make sure that they are very comfortable, because they know that if there is any uprising, it will affect the polity, will affect the peace of the country, and so they will not be in a position to rule. So what they do is to make sure that the majority who are poor, those who have needs, those who have no jobs, are taken care of. They have something at the end of the month. They collect money, they collect stipend, they have accommodation. Do you know in the UK now, just go and have a baby without any husband, you are given accommodation automatically. So far you said you have no husband, they'll give you a council flat. The same thing in the UK, US. The moment you are, in a position that you don't have any job at all, every month there is a place you go and take a stipend. They know you need to eat, because a hungry man is an angry man. So we have so much money, but the money goes into private pocket. Yes, so much is taken out of. Imagine $1 billion you are taken out of the system. If they tell you what these governors, are taking as security votes, if they tell you what ministers, or even the Senate. The senators, you are aware now of how much they are earning every month now. They take as allowance. They call it running costs. Yes, it does not include their salary. It does not include other allowances.
And what have you.
And then in a country where you have people who have no job. So that's why when these robbers, sometimes when they come, my anger with them is that they go after the wrong persons. When they come, they look at the politicians, how rich they are. So when they want to kill, they kill without mercy, because they say, how can I be? I'm a graduate, I've finished for many years, no job. And then you have people who are eating, who are feeding fat from the system, the same system, and they're in a minority. But my problem with the robbers is that they don't go after those people, because those guys are well armed. They have security surrounding them.
Because they are aware, our public officials are aware of what they're doing.
Beautiful. So they go after the poor people who are suffering the same fate, kill the wrong people and all that. That's the point. So I think that anyone who becomes a leader must be conscious of these factors. That Nigerians are not happy, that majority are unemployed, that there are no jobs. We need to formulate a policy that will bring back all the factories, that will bring back all the industries, that will bring back all the investors. Your country must be well. You must make your country conducive. Your tourism must be beautiful. Your security topmost.
Exactly.
Because when you are secure, people will flow. Do you know what we have? Nigeria is a beautiful country. Nigeria, there's no country, the weather, the beautiful people, there is nothing. So, but you need to take care of the security, so that when they hear that the country, people can sleep with their two eyes closed. You are following me? Lagos is the only state now you can drive in the night and nothing will ever. No other state. There's no other state today as safe as Lagos. So we must make Nigeria to be safe. So it is important that any government that comes in must do that. Call all the governors. If I'm a head of state, if I'm the president today, I will call all the governors. I will hold hands with them. I say we must rescue this nation. Go in your state. Make sure that it's absolute peace. Make sure that people are happy. Make sure you pay salaries. Take little out of the system, and then make sure that majority of the money is deployed to help to run your state. All of us will lay hand and we call upon God that if any of us go and do something that is contrary, let God strike, We'll hold our hands, and everyone goes and begin to do. Look at what is going on in some of the states. Anambra is an example. Today is coming up. If you go to Ebonyi State, some governors are working. Then you come to Lagos, where I am. Lagos is also trying his best in order to work. But Lagos could have gone, far ahead if we are running a system that is perfect. They are transparent. Lagos has so much in terms of revenue generation and all that. We would have all the streets start, So we must begin to make our leaders to be held accountable. We must make them to realize that this country is for us and for their children that are born. So if you have a conducive environment, their children will live here and remember the legacies they have left. So you must preach this message, preach this sermon with leaders, and then say, God, please help me to leave a legacy for my generation.
All right, Barrister Albani, I take that as your advice on national security. Yeah. Now, finally, we talked about the land use charge last week. I also featured you there with the interview I had with you.
That's right.
The NBA Ikeja branch have been at the forefront saying that the governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, should reverse the land use charge to what it used to be. I want to get your own suggestion.
Yeah, it was obvious. It was obvious that the governor did not take much input from stakeholders before the enactment of that law. It's very obvious from some of the things we gathered after the law was enacted. You saw the reaction of Lagosians. They said, no, there are many things you have done wrong. What is actually the value of a property? And when you say a property is worth 100 million, who valued it? Did you have an input of my own valuer or the person that is valuing for you because he wants more money for you and all that? And if I'm going to pay any land use charge on my property, am I paying for the value of that property every year, or am I going to pay for what the value is worth for me that year, what I'm getting? If my property is worth 80 million, that is what you think is worth. What is the gain? What am I gaining in that property in a particular year? It is the revenue I'll generate from that particular property in a year. You will tax me. You don't tax me on 80 million because I've not sold the property for 80 million. That is what you think is worth. But what I'm supposed to pay is what that property will yield to me within a year. So you now tax me. That's why you go abroad, you pay taxes on property. It's not as high. It is something very reasonable because what they tax you is what your property is worth, what the property will generate for you in that year of assessment, not for the rest of the life. You begin to pay on 80 million. No.
So what's your final word?
So I think that Lagos, for even reverting to 50% and now asking people to make an input means the man is listening. And I love that, because you see, you have to listen to the people. When you are building infrastructure, it's people who are alive that will live there. If they are all dead, nobody's going to stay in those infrastructures. So the law, they have now asked for input. Ikeja has set up a committee to now write to them. Lagos State branch is also doing that. All the branches and all the stakeholders, the surveyors, the valuers, the town planners, they're all making an input now concerning that law. And I think that the State House of Assembly will now look into all those input and now enact a law that has taken into cognizance all the input of stakeholders, so that when the law comes out, people will, ordinarily we've been obeying that law. I've been paying my own land use charge before this new one that they increased now, years and all that. So let them do it well, and when they do it, I think Lagosians will cooperate. We want a Lagos that is working. Lagos has assumed a mega city. We want all the infrastructures, all the road, the light. Ambode is doing well. Ambode is doing well. Yeah, he's doing well. But do it. Don't kill the people. Don't ever assume that APC cannot be voted out. So let's go ahead and do whatever you want to do. Don't do. If you do that, you put yourself in jeopardy politically.
All right, Barrister Monday Ubani, I want to thank you very much for obliging us on the program.
Thank you.
Well, viewers at home, many thanks for being in company on this week's edition of Super Eye. Well, we'll come again same time on your darling station. So watch out for another beautiful edition next week. I am Adenike Oweye Ajiboye, your host always on Super Eye. So bye for now. This is Oshodi, one of the areas in Lagos State.